Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you guys about a house that I have across the street from me. It's a beautiful house. Let's start with that, okay? It's got a new roof, new siding, and the landscaping is always on point. There's a she shed in the back. The yards are huge. The front yard is huge. The backyard is huge. The grass is always green, and you'll never see any weeds, even when all the other lawns in the neighborhood look like shit, mine included. Now anyway, it's a pretty big house, just about 4,000 square feet. The only thing is, it's only got one occupant, my neighbor, and let's call her Mary Sue. Now, Mary Sue lives in that big old house by herself. The only problem is, it's just way too much house for just one person. What the hell is she gonna do with 6 bedrooms? So, when all your other neighbors start selling their homes during the pandemic and they all made a small fortune on their homes, I'm here watching Mary Sue putting up a new roof. She's putting up new siding. She's redoing her landscaping. I'm like, you know what? Mary Sue's about to sell her house any day now. And I was right. So she eventually puts her house on the market. It's for about $800,000, right? Let me tell you something. That is nothing to sneeze at. That is no chump change at all. Now, granted, a house like hers could easily fetch $2 million if she were just a few streets over. All right, something about zip codes and school districts and whatnot, right? But anyway, she probably understands this, and that's why she's only putting her house on the market for $800,000, which still isn't too shabby, right? But here's the thing. Most of the houses on my block were sold for about $600,000 to $700,000 during the pandemic, when everyone was leaving New York City and moving into the suburbs. There was no inventory, the interest rates were also super low, and now with the pandemic sort of kind of in the rearview mirror, and with the inventory growing and interest rates going up, the real estate market's not what it was 2 years ago. And not only that, these homes were being sold during the pandemic for like $600,000 or $700,000, and these were all newly updated inside and outside as well. Now here's the other thing. Mary Sue only updated the outside, the roof and the siding. She didn't do any work on the inside. There's no central air, there's no open space concept. The kitchen probably hasn't been updated since the 1950s. The other thing that I should mention is that the schools in town are not that great. Now, there's not a lot of dining or shopping options in town either, but there are at least 3 Targets within 10 to 15 minutes of my house, at least 3 movie theaters, 2 shopping malls, 3 Costco's, all of them also within 10, 15 minutes of our house. So all things considered, it's not that bad. But the thing is, when all the other downtowns in New Jersey have all these cool places where you can eat and shop, our town's not one of them. But anyway, I digress. So right off the bat, Mary Sue's already going to lose a large segment of the market. A whole lot of young families and young urban professionals who want all these nice things. They want these coffee shops. They want places to dine and shop and all that kind of stuff that our neighborhood simply does not offer. These folks also want a great school district, a vibrant downtown with all these things that you can do, right? We don't have that stuff here. So what does her home offer that nobody else on the block does? Nothing really. Now, don't get me wrong, she's got a beautiful house, but the other thing is there are also a dozen other beautiful homes in the neighborhood that are also on the market, and they're not charging $800,000. They're charging much less and offering more, like an updated kitchen, central air. She's competing against all these other folks. So for 6 months, Mary Sue's house goes on the market. No bites. They have open houses, and I see all these cars parked out front all the time, and it never sold because that for sale sign stayed up for at least a couple months, right? She eventually fires that realtor and gets another one. So she drops it down to $750. Still no bites. At the time of this recording, she's looking at right around the mid 600s right now. Still no bites. Which brings me to today's lesson. As sellers and business owners, just because we get to name our price doesn't mean that we're gonna get it. Sure, it might make us feel good saying those numbers, that our home is worth a certain price, or that this baseball card was signed by Derek Jeter himself, or that wedding day coverage provided by you is going to run $10,000, or whatever you want to quote, right? But that doesn't really matter, because the thing is, just because you say it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. And that's because the math is not that simple. Now, you might have a lot of sales gurus out there who will tell you, well, you know what, you can sell anything at any price. You just have to demonstrate your value to the right customers, and those customers will buy it. This is only partially true. Now, if you see a lot of photographers in your market who are charging these incredible rates for wedding day coverage, $8,000, $10,000, even $15,000 for coverage, you might be thinking to yourself, what are these guys offering that I'm not? Now, this also applies if you're only currently charging like $2,000 and you're admiring all these other folks who are charging $4,000 or $5,000 for coverage. Now, their photos are okay. I could shoot like that too. What the hell are they doing that I'm not? Well, I happen to know some of these folks who are charging $10,000 to $15,000. And there's a couple of things that they're not telling you. And it's more than just doing good work. The first thing is, they're typically not a volume brand, meaning they shoot less than 20 weddings a year. usually closer to 10 or 15 weddings a year. And sometimes they have other jobs too that they do during the week. Sometimes they have other obligations during the week. So they don't have the time or the mental bandwidth to do more than 10 to 15 jobs a year. And sometimes it could just be as simple as them not wanting to do 30, 40, 50 weddings a year, like the rest of us peasants. They don't have the appetite for that kind of workload. It's gonna be super rare for you to find someone who shoots for 10,000 bucks and is also shooting 50 weddings a year on their own. Now, the second thing is the market is a lot smaller up there. There are only a finite number of prospects who can afford $10,000 for wedding photography. There's a reason why you see more Toyotas and Nissans on the road compared to Ferraris and Lamborghinis, because there aren't a whole lot of prospects in that market. It's super competitive there, which brings me to my next point. They're not selling just wedding photos at 10 grand. They're selling other stuff too. Now, I'm not talking about just albums, wall art, and all that other stuff. I'm talking about a certain kind of high-end, high-touch experience. They're spending a lot of time, effort, and money with their clients. That is what they're selling. I'm talking about welcome bags with free cookies, movie tickets, anniversary gifts, extra goodies and freebies that 99% of other photographers just don't know about and they don't do. They're selling an experience, a peace of mind, someone who understands their needs and desires on a very granular level. So if you want to be up there on their level, you've got to offer more than just pretty photos and a friendly face. Now, last but not least, it's all about the relationships. A lot of these high-end luxury bookings came from their relationships with the venue, other vendors, wedding planners, and even past clients. There's a level of trust and teamwork and collaboration that goes on behind the scenes that makes everyone's experience incredible. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, how do I get these relationships then? I want a piece of that, right? Well, you get these relationships by putting in the work, meeting the right people, and making everyone's life easy, enjoyable, and productive. And the best part of this is all these other folks who refer you do all the pre-selling for you. By the time these prospects get in front of you, you are just facilitating the sale at that point. But that is not what we're here to talk about today. Today, we are talking about pricing yourself properly. At the end of the day, when it comes to pricing your product properly, it really comes down to supply and demand. How badly do customers want your product, and can they get it anywhere else for cheaper? If your customers can find something similar for cheaper, you can't charge a premium price and expect them to pay it. So let's hypothetically say that you do offer a premium product with premium service and all these other goodies and extras. Well, guess what? It's got to be the goodies and extras that the buyers want. It's got to be the stuff that they care about. My neighbor, Mary Sue, could talk about how her turn-of-the-century home still has all the original floorboards, the kitchen, and the crown molding, but a lot of folks might not care about that. Maybe they want great schools, a vibrant downtown, and a short commute into the city, which her home does not offer. You might be offering a second shooter, an engagement session, all digital files, and you might even send them cookies and gifts, all of which are nice, but your customers might not even care about any of that stuff. You have to pay attention to the market, see who you're up against, see where the average is, and figure out where you stack up among your peers when it comes to your offerings. And it includes all the little extras that you do, like the gifts and the personal attention, all the things which absolutely have nothing to do with your amazing photos. So if you're hitting all your numbers and you're in good company with other talented folks in your market, and your clients think that they're getting a great deal and you feel like you're compensated fairly for all your work, you're already doing everything right. Honestly, you don't really even need to watch the rest of this video. But let's say you are in good company with other talented folks in your market. Your work is just as good as theirs. The final product is also similar, objectively speaking, but what you want to charge is a premium because you believe that you offer something that your competitors don't. Maybe it's your dad jokes. Maybe it's your top-of-the-line camera equipment. Maybe it's your 20 years of work experience. Maybe it's something that's even more intangible, like your vibe or this sense of exclusivity. But nevertheless, your inbox remains empty and you've got no customers, like my poor neighbor, Mary Sue here, who's trying to sell her house. The problem that you have is the same as my neighbor, Mary Sue. You all are talking about the stuff that does not matter. They matter to you, but they don't matter to your customers. And until you figure that part out, like the part where you talk about the stuff that matters and you actually start offering the stuff that matters, you have to bring your prices down to what the market believes is fair for what you currently offer. So whenever you're trying to sell something, you've got to ask yourself and be brutally honest with yourself. Can your customers buy what you're selling somewhere else? Do they have other options? Now, I guess it would be easy to say, well, the customers believe they are comparing apples to apples. We'll just change the conversation to comparing apples to oranges. Reframe the conversation, right? Well, sales gurus talk about this all the time. I talk about this all the time. I create myself this blue ocean environment where I don't have to compete with others. Then I can name the price because there would be no competitors, and I can name my price and they'll pay it. Tesla did this, Microsoft did this for a little while, Netflix also did this. But look at Netflix now. How many streaming services are there out there right now? You've got Apple TV, Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO Max, all kinds of options. You see, Netflix is no longer the only game in town, so they can't charge a premium price anymore, especially when their competitors are charging less and offering more of what the market wants. Not to mention, all the shows that are on Netflix currently, with a few exceptions here or there, leaves much to be desired, in my humble opinion. And just like Netflix, you are not the only game in town, and you just can't charge a premium just because you want to. So how do you fix this issue? Well, the first thing you've got to do is figure out where the market's at. You don't decide what that final number is going to be. And your individual customers also don't get to decide what they're going to pay either. Because on the flip side of this conversation, they might only want to pay $100 for a Lamborghini, but doesn't mean that they're going to get it. So you don't decide on what that final number is going to be, and they don't either. The market actually decides what that final number is going to be. The marketplace, where you have hundreds, if not thousands of buyers and sellers determining what they're willing to accept, what they're willing to pay, that's going to determine what that nice squishy middle is going to be. That rough average is going to give us a rough starting point of what we should be charging and what the buyers should expect to pay. Now, where we deviate from the middle, where we decide if we're going to charge a little bit more or a little bit less, really comes down to a few things. First one is, can the customer, in their own opinion, get something similar somewhere else? If the answer is no, then you might have room to charge a little bit more. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember this, but think about the bikes and the homes during the pandemic. There wasn't a whole lot of inventory, so the prices were through the roof. However, if the answer is yes, that your clients can indeed find something similar somewhere else, then you'll have to get to work in. Figure out how you can create a product or service that's not only different, but better. So for this reason, I don't show photos of dresses hanging on the windows in my portfolio anymore, or traditional group family photos or photos of the groom dipping the bride in front of a fountain with all that colorful light surrounding them. Now, I don't do that because there are a million photographers out there who are already doing that. It does not set me apart. I've got to shoot differently than everyone else out there so that it's impossible for clients to compare apples to apples when they're looking at my photos. They're comparing apples to oranges every single time. The second thing that I do is, what is the difference in quality compared to all the other options? Now, this is the part that I think many folks struggle with when it comes to their own work. I get it. We're all a little bit emotionally attached to our own work because we put so much of ourselves into creating this beautiful thing. And it feels like shit when people tell you that you're not worth what you're selling it for. It feels like someone's telling you that you're not good enough, your product is not good enough, and that you suck and that your products suck. Just like my neighbor Mary Sue here, and I could see how upset she was when she told me that nobody wanted to buy her house, as if her home's not good enough, as if she's not good enough. Now, despite the fact that she's put in all this time, effort, and money to make her house as beautiful as it is, it's like an insult to her that nobody wants it. But the reality of the matter is, as I mentioned in my previous point, prospective buyers could get something similar for cheaper. Now, as it applies to your own photography business, you've got to realize that great photographers are out there in the market. There is so much talent out there. If you're not producing at their level of skill and expertise, you're already starting at a disadvantage, and you definitely cannot be charging what they're charging. You've got to price yourself accordingly if that is the case. But let's say that you are producing at their level, but you want to charge more. Well, there better be a damn good reason why you're charging more than they are. Just because you're more pleasant to be around or claim to be offering better customer service or better turnaround times, and maybe you have a couple of freebies, those things alone are not going to cut it. Now, if you want to charge more than your peers, you've got to do more than that. You've got to offer more than that, which leads me to my next point. Is your product or service the correct and only solution to your customer's very specific problem? The problem here is most folks don't know what their client's specific problems are, mostly because they're marketing to everyone in the universe. And when you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. These photographers are solving problems that don't need solving, and they're completely ignoring, not on purpose, all the problems that their customers are actually facing. So if you want to charge a premium for your products and your services, simply being better, faster, kinder, friendlier is not going to be enough. You have to be amazing where it counts for your target audience, who has a very specific concern that needs addressing. And if you can address these concerns in a super powerful way, then yes, you can charge whatever the hell you want. The secret is finding the stuff that matters to your customers. And once you get that, you'll know what to sell them and you'll know how to sell them. At the end of the day, we all want to make a good living doing what we love. Yes, we willingly suffer for our art, but we also want to be compensated fairly for our suffering. You don't ever want to find yourself on the short end of that stick. So here are a couple things that you can do to improve your situation. The first thing is continuously work on your craft, because this is still a huge part of your offer. Every day is an opportunity for you to create something more beautiful than what you created yesterday. You're adding more value to your offer a little bit more each day. Forget about what your competitors are doing for a little while, all right? And just create your very best work and put your very best foot forward. There's always going to be someone better than you. But as you continue to improve your craft, And your business, the long game here is that the market will one day be chasing you instead of the other way around. Now, secondly, the market as a whole will tell you if you're too cheap or expensive, okay? Pay attention to the conversions on your funnel, track and adjust your messaging and value propositions at each stage on a regular basis. Now, if you're getting good traffic, but you're not getting sales, you need to either lower your price, change your offer, or change your audience. Now, if you can't change your offer and you're dead set on serving that audience, then you might have to lower your pricing then, at least temporarily, until you can figure out how to best serve your audience so you can charge a premium for whatever it is that you offer. Lastly, pay attention to your target audience. Everybody wants to charge more over time, but the folks who also do it, they do it haphazardly and maybe a little bit prematurely sometimes. Pay attention to whom you're serving, get to really understand what your audience is looking for, what's important to them, then you'll know what to say and what to show in order to get them across the finish line. Now, if you don't have a target audience, then you might want to follow the market like everyone else, like my neighbor, Mary Sue. So if I were Mary Sue, I'd go check out all these other homes in the area, then figure out what makes my home special. And if I were her, I'd consider updating the kitchen, which might run about 10 or 15K, and then maybe another 20K to add central air to the house, because at the end of the day, that's what everyone else is offering. And if she's not, she's already starting at a disadvantage. Now, the idea here is to figure out where the market is and simply be better than whatever's in that squishy middle. Offer something that's better than whatever's in the squishy middle. Then you can charge more for it, and the right audience will also pay for it. That's how you compete, and that's how you win. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be better than all the other options that your customers are considering. Anyway, I hope you guys learn a little bit more about how to price yourself properly according to your own market. If you guys found today's video to be helpful, please like, comment, share, subscribe, invite your friends to the party. As always, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Bye.